Hello everyone, and welcome back to a very exciting episode of Sandbox. Jamie, what number episode is it?
22.
22. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
In BSL sign language that I just did a video on.
What?
You couldn't hear that because it was sign language, but there we go. Moving on.
I can't hear sign language. I haven't learnt to speak it yet.
So, we're going to start the podcast off as any good podcast would, any good Sandbox episode would, with some news. And Jack, you got some news? Oh no, we're not.
I've got some news. What are you drinking, Jamie?
No, we're not.
God, you're off your game. Any good Sandbox? Any good Sandbox would start with a host who knows what he's talking about.
If you've watched an episode of Sandbox that started with news, you're not even bloody watching Sandbox, I don't think.
No, unless you watched like one from pre-episode 14 where we had absolutely no structure.
We had quite a lot of structure in the first one, but
Jamie, what are you drinking?
It went downhill.
It went downhill very quick.
So today I'm drinking Nut Bastard by Mighty Oak Brewing Company, and it's an absolutely delicious beer that I've had many times, but it's incredibly obscure, and the chances are very high anyone listening to this podcast has never had it before. So it's 5.8%, it's cloudy and gold, and it has... I'm looking for a description. It hasn't got a description, has it?
What does it have? Jamie, you're supposed to be the beer connoisseur. You shouldn't need a description. You should just give it one whiff, and then you'll know.
I couldn't remember if there was a description on the back. There isn't a description on the back of the can, but it's got first gold, Goldings. It's got first gold bittering, Goldings aroma, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head now. Browning's Cross as a dry hop in the fermenter. There we go. And it looks like this. I've already poured it. I was a bit preemptive. I got a bit excited for it. As you can see... Oh, look, you can see my reflection. As you can see, it's very cloudy. It's very strong. It's extremely strong and delicious tasting.
So...
Yeah.
You know what's funny to me? You say that like Nut Bastard is really obscure and no one would have heard of it. But I don't think of it as being that because we drink it all the time.
I know. It would be though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like it really it's sold almost exclusively in Malden.
It almost certainly would be very obscure. Do you want to know what I'm drinking, Jamie? I've got the Masterful Trifecta.
Ooh.
So I just did a workout, so my first thing is a white chocolate protein shake from myprotein.com.
Fantastic.
Which is very nice. And then I've also
got... Is the white chocolate one nice? Is it good?
It's really good. I'm getting through those 68 flavours they have.
Wait, is that real?
It might be. They've got loads. You should know. You told me about it.
I know they've got loads. I didn't realise it was 68.
Yeah, they've got a lot on there. When that's done, though, I'm going to have a gin and tonic. Just to, you got to sandbox it up. And I've also got some hydrogen dioxide in this bottle here.
Some hydrogen dioxide?
Yeah.
You mean dihydrogen monoxide?
I mean... No, that's less fun. No, mine's HO2. Listen here, Mr. Chemist Jamie. Do you want to hear my news or not? We'll get into the news.
I really want to hear your news
just
because
to save
everyone knows
space.
The best thing to come after the first thing in a podcast is a good, healthy bit of news.
That's very true.
Fresh, preferably you've just taken it out of the oven. You've made it that day. It hasn't been in the fridge or anything. It's kind of spicy.
I'm going to start...
Give us some news.
I'm going to start with a bit more current news. It's...
Like raisins or like...
More raisins. No, this is less raisins. We'll get to the raisins. But the less raisins news is Tony Hawk's 1 and 2. They're getting remakes.
Yes, they are.
And it looks... They released a trailer. It looks great. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it does.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I had to remember what it was called. I had to Google it shamefully. Yeah, it looks cool. It looks really good. And I miss skating games. I was always more of a skate boy myself. But I did have one of the Tony Hawk's games. I think it was Tony Hawk's Underground. I would like it if skateboard games came back. I would like Skate 4 to be released so I can break my bones again.
I think skateboarding and also snowboarding games.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bring me...
Well, like,
under
both in one neat package. Why not?
Right, well, I mean, that would be quite an ask if you wanted it to be, like, really good, but...
Nah.
I mean, they're pretty different. Like, very...
Nah. I just want a general...
Let's just throw surfboarding in as well, then. They're basically the same.
Yeah, call it General Pro Sports.
General boarding.
General board-related sports. The movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, these games were so, like, iconic that they brought skateboarding into the 21st century from the 90s. Like, skateboarding wasn't that big until these games came out, let's be honest. I mean, obviously there were still skateboarders, but it wasn't as mainstream.
No.
Video games did that. I'm cool
with
like
that. They're a bit too popular. Like, they were good games, obviously, but it's surprising how Tony Hawk's skateboarding became such a hit. But yeah, it's really cool to see
Jamie,
it back.
do you want to hear something you'll love? Activision described it as a remaster.
Oh, don't. I actually know that they said that, and it wound me up so much.
Oh, I've gone blurry.
Oh god, I can't deal with the nomenclature. It's really frustrating. I was looking at, like, Reddit on this announcement, and people were saying, like, oh, it's really cool that they're remastering it. And I was inside like, oh. And then you see that they say it's a remaster, like, no, people are going to get so confused.
I'll have things that barely matter for 400. Right. It's a full-on remake, just to our viewers at home who aren't sure what's happening.
I don't know why they'd underplay it. Like,
it does underplay it. Like, they've remade the whole thing.
They called Crash and Spyro remakes, and they're like debatably
less remade,
somewhere in between remake and remaster.
Yeah. So this game looks really cool. It looks like the original games. I saw some people very sad because apparently they couldn't get the license to all of the original music. So it's not going to have all the original music.
That's not surprising, though, is it?
Massively.
Like, that's difficult. Licensed music in games is notoriously difficult. Yeah.
Do you want to hear my other bit of news, which is slightly outdated because it comes from Star Wars Day, May the 4th be with you?
Go on, then. Let's hear it.
Never mentioned it because we were out of time.
That is quite outdated. Yeah, go
like
for
a week and a bit ago. But Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga.
Yes.
Yeah. So, that's exciting. New Lego Star Wars. Looks like they're doing some very interesting stuff with it. Could be good.
It actually does look pretty cool.
Could be a big game. And I do love my Lego games, though I haven't played them in yonks. I don't like when they speak. I still don't like that. I've played multiple Lego games now where they speak, and it still doesn't feel right. I like the creative ways they got around it in the past.
You're right.
I mean, you're right. No reason to not play the games. But the big news for Lego Star Wars is that Yaddle is now a playable character.
I saw that.
It's big news.
Just okay.
That's the main thing I wanted to discuss. I'm currently looking at a picture of Yaddle in all her glory. She looks like a frog that's about to sneeze.
I haven't played a Lego game for absolutely ages. And then my brother had a random Harry Potter phase last year. Didn't last very long at all. But it was when he was reading the books. He just got into it for a bit. And
understandable.
He got Lego Harry Potter on the PS4. And I was playing co-op with him a bit. So fun. Like, it's the games are ultra formulaic and they're all the same. But the core idea of a Lego game is still really fun. If you haven't played it for ages, like me, I'm kind of interested in Lego Star Wars.
Oh, for sure. It's really fun. It's a great collectathon for players like me.
It's a collectathon that I can get behind though, because I think the unlocks are pretty good.
Yeah. And it still
the
has
characters are unique, and you get like cool areas, and yeah.
And it still has like cheats and stuff. That's
Yeah.
fun. Why don't games do that anymore?
Yeah, I know. I don't understand that. I think just games in general have become more mature.
I was going to say they want to be more immersive.
Yeah, I think that's the reason.
Great fun though. I'm looking forward to it.
A couple of things, if you don't mind me moving on.
Move on.
So the first thing I want to talk about, which I'm quite excited about, as of the recording of this podcast, I think it was about 2 hours ago now. Epic announced Unreal Engine 5, and it's really cool. Unreal Engine 4, it feels like it hasn't been around for long enough. It kind of has. It's been around for ages. It's games didn't adopt it for quite a long time because Unreal Engine 3 was so popular when it came out.
Yeah.
And they basically released this real-time demo, and it was quite unique actually, because usually with Unreal demos, it's like a cutscene. It's like a cutscene that's being rendered in real time.
Yeah.
And you kind of watch it and you're like, yeah, that's cool, but it's literally a cutscene. Whereas this was actually a playable demo.
Yeah, I'm watching it now.
It's properly awesome. It's running on a PlayStation 5 as well.
That's also quite good marketing for PlayStation 5.
So obviously it looks crazy. It's all in the details, of course, because if you saw a quick screenshot, you'd be forgiven for thinking it's Rise of the Tomb Raider or Shadow of the Tomb Raider, because that's already a really good looking game. But if you watch the demo, it's all in the crazy details of everything around them.
Oh, it looks incredible. I would highly recommend to our viewers that they go and watch the Unreal Engine 5 reveal.
It's a bit weird actually. So a lot of the build up to next gen consoles has been a bit tepid, because a lot of the talking has been about 4K and 60 FPS. But the problem with 4K 60 FPS is that a 2080 Ti, which is more powerful than both the new consoles, it can't run most games at 4K 60 or at the moment. So if they're targeting 4K 60, all the games are going to look the same. So at the moment, up until now, it's kind of been a bit boring. It's just like, your games are going to look the same, just shinier, basically. This is the first time we've seen next-gen gameplay which is focusing on the graphics, and that's it. It's so good.
No, it looks really good. I mean, you could be forgiven for thinking this was just a picture of real life.
Yeah. I mean, there's games. I genuinely mix up game screenshots and real life photos quite often on the internet.
There's a whole subreddit basically for that, and it's called Divine Gaming Photos. I mean, I saw a picture from Spider-Man, as in the 2018 game, and I thought it was a cosplay at first when I was scrolling through, and then I realised it was from the game.
We have, in terms of stills, we've reached photorealism already. I remember there was someone put on some thread somewhere, I don't know. Someone made a joke about LA, parts of LA, or actually no, it's probably Detroit actually, looking like Fallout and they posted a picture,
Yeah.
and I genuinely thought it was a picture of Fallout and not real life. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's a real picture. Man, games actually look like that though.
Yeah.
It was really crazy. Like, oh, that's just a picture of Fallout. No. Yeah.
There's a bit in this demo where there's a bunch of insects and she shines a light at them and they all disperse. Do you think they made a big deal out of that, like when the Call of Duty creators were showing off their fish that swim away from?
Oh. No, they probably made a big deal about the lighting.
The lighting is very... I mean, I can't really describe it. It's just so realistic.
I won't go into detail. I would recommend, if you want to obviously just watch the video, but to summarise, the lighting is a brand new lighting technique. It's not ray tracing. They can, although it can be used in junction with ray tracing to make it better. And basically, in games, when you walk up to an object, it's getting more and more detailed as you go towards it. They
like
make
Spyro the Dragon
models.
started that.
Exactly. And all objects do that. And to be honest, it's quite noticeable. I find it quite noticeable quite often. When you're approaching objects, you kind of see it kind of pop in sometimes. This, in Unreal Engine 5, it has a name, but it's got a new rendering technique which eliminates pop-in completely. And it's to do with the way they do the lighting, but it basically, they do it so that you're never going to see pop-in ever. It's just everything is like maximum detail at all times, which is so awesome.
Watch Dogs
so when they did the light,
that.
when they did the light, because everything's rendered in full detail, the light can accurately bounce off of things all the time without having to have maths tricks to make it look good. Basically, it looks really impressive.
No, this does. This is exciting. I mean, there's always this thing with new consoles as well, where people are like, oh, consoles aren't going to catch up with PC. Like, what's the point? You always hear that argument, but like, this is the first thing I'm seeing that's making me think, like, man, this looks really good.
Yeah, consoles have to keep. The only reason PCs are GPUs are as good as they are, really, has massively been accelerated by consoles being as powerful as they are. Like, they make, AMD especially have essentially made a GPU for the consoles, and then it's basically a cut down version of what they're going to release on PC. So the only reason why the PC one exists is because the consoles exist. So it's always going to happen. Of course, the PC costs more money, so that's the whole thing. There's other stuff I need to talk about. This will excite you, actually. I'm not sure if you know about this or not, because it was quite a low key announcement. Civ 6 is getting a season pass. So
quite interesting.
It came out 3.5 years ago, and a lot of people kind of assumed there wasn't going to be a third expansion, because they've had an expansion last year, they had an expansion the year before that, but they usually announce it in December and it comes out around about now, March, whatever. This is basically that expansion, but they're going to be pacing it out over a year. They're adding. Let me have a look at one sec. Actually, it'd probably be quicker if I find it in Steam.
They're adding the Maya and Gran Colombia pack.
That's it. So you found it. They're adding essentially an expansion's worth of content over the course of the next year. Which, for people who play Civ a lot, is really exciting, because nobody expected there to be any more content, and it's actually pretty beefy. As they're adding quite a lot of stuff to it over the course of a year. And personally, I think it was a good shout because I wasn't sure what they could add in an expansion as like the next gimmick, without making it too much. So yeah,
it looks good. I'm reading it now. There's a lot to it. New leaders, new civs, new game modes. A lot of new game modes.
The game mode's kind of interesting, actually. The way to describe these game modes is that you can turn them, basically they're toggles, so you can have all the game modes on at once. So you can have, I don't know what they're going to be, but Apocalypse mode can be played in conjunction with whatever the other ones are.
Secret Society sounds fun.
Yeah, I know, it sounds so cool. Yeah,
and then there's the vague new game modes and more new content. I guess they're waiting to announce
whatever new content is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. Still don't own Civ 6.
Highly recommend it.
Gives me a reason to. I mean, but then I've got to spend so much money.
£30 it costs.
Yeah, but then I mean for the season pass.
Oh, for the season pass. Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's another like £30 for the year, I guess.
£30 gets you all the current DLC, both expansions and the game.
Oh, so I'd be spending £60 for everything. Like, that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, you don't need the season pass, in fairness.
I need it.
Like, you could probably wait a year. You're going to have plenty of content if you bought the game brand new right now. So that's that. The next thing is something that we mentioned last week, and it's a shame because now that we're talking about it now, it's outdated news. But the reason why is because the announcement came a day after our podcast was filmed last week.
I know what you're going to say now, yeah.
Xbox Inside.
Yay! Jamie, you were so excited, you hyped it up, it was going to be the best thing ever, you were going to stay up so late to watch it all and talk about it and read about it. How'd it go?
So, I didn't watch it, which at the time, I was kind of like, oh man, oh well, I guess I'll just, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, you're a little bummed, but you know.
I'm so glad I missed it.
I did enjoy receiving your updates about it.
Immense backlash online about the games they showed. So, I mean, I won't go through the list. I mean, it's a small list, don't get me wrong, but basically, a lot of like AA games, not the sort of thing that you want to see on like your brand new big fat console. Like everything they showed was stuff that can already be done very, very easily.
I would call some of them A games.
Yeah, I would say some of them are A games, actually. Yeah, you're right. I mean, and also indie as well. Like, Bright Memory Infinite is, by definition, an indie game.
That's an I game.
That is an I game. Yeah, just meh, whatever. A bit of a shame.
I got 2 messages from you in succession. It was like, oh man, I can't watch it. That's a shame. And then the next message was like, thank God I missed it. It was awful.
Yeah.
There was a poll on IGN the next day, and it was like, oh, which games are you most excited for on Xbox? And it was like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, 98% of the votes. And then like 4 other games that I don't even remember hearing about.
I actually voted on that poll. I voted for Assassin's Creed. Not that I'm particularly excited for that, but
I'm mildly excited for it. I'll see what updates there are.
It's something that I'd be hyped about if I was about to buy a new console on launch day.
Because you've got to be hyped about something.
Have you seen the Lord of the Rings Gollum?
What do you mean?
The game.
Oh no. What is it? No, I'm googling this now.
Have a quick Google and tell me what you think about this next generation game that is
I hadn't heard of
using
this.
a very, very well-known IP.
What is this? Is this a Xbox One?
Yeah. It's made by a small studio, so it's not like unforgivable the way it looks, but it's one of it was the first screenshots for it were shown before this event.
It reminds me a bit of Overlord.
You're so right. Yeah, it's totally like Overlord. Yeah.
I hadn't heard of this. Was this in the announcement?
No, I don't believe it was.
Gonna say
It was before that.
I thought you just meant have I heard of Gollum.
No.
I was so confused. No, I mean,
think about it.
This looks like it could be a very interesting game, though. But yeah, it doesn't scream next gen. Like if this was an indie game that was being released now for £20, I might be interested.
I'm not. I won't lie to you. I think this game looks bad.
Oh man, really?
I think this looks like a bad game. Yeah.
Oh, that's really sad. I mean, the free screenshots I'm seeing is one very nice, beautiful environment, which invokes kind of cool exploration, something that looks quite fun and stealthy, and then some kind of choices on how Smeagol's going to react and what sort of direction his personality is going to go in. But yeah, I haven't actually seen any actual gameplay, so it's probably just bad.
It's just not very. I just don't think it's very exciting, is it? It's like
it's a weird choice.
The most exciting next gen thing that I have seen so far, and I'm talking Hellblade 2 doesn't count because that was just a CGI trailer, which that does look really good. But in terms of actual this is the game, the coolest thing I've seen is Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say for sure.
Seriously, there's nothing else. This looks incredible. It's really dry.
I mean, I hope it does look this good.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be the best it will look, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it looks great.
Well, what's cool?
Hype me up more than anything else.
Yeah. And then the whole Xbox. I mean, I won't go into the games. Whatever if you're listening to this podcast, you've
PlayStation fanboys rise again.
No, I mean at the moment just PC fanboys. All these games are either already out on PC or across platforms, so it's weird.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So that's the news. That's what we've got. It's been quite cool. I will
More
say
than we've had recently.
Tomorrow there is an Nvidia online press conference, which I actually this time will be definitely watching and live streaming.
Don't hype up, Jamie. You might embarrass yourself again.
I'm not hyping it, but I'm kind of excited, which is very bad because it absolutely is going to be a dry press conference. It will get to the end and they'll be like, here's the gaming GPU, and then they'll spend half an hour talking about rasterization techniques.
Yeah,
and that is not something that I find crazy interesting.
Yeah, so I mean there'll be something cool in there. Technologically there'll be some cool stuff. People
basically,
I'm
taking one for the team in the interest of journalism.
Do for it. Go for it. I got my letters.
I will end
wrong.
off this news segment by saying that to add fuel to this graphics card fire, Huang Jensen, the CEO of Nvidia, earlier today posted a tweet. Oh no, it wasn't even it was a tweet, but it was actually a tiny little 30-second YouTube video on the Nvidia's official YouTube channel, and it hits him in his house, and he opens the oven, and the title of the video is "Let's see what Jensen's been baking," and he takes out this huge tray of graphics cards, and he smells it and goes, fresh, and puts it on the table, and that's it.
That's brilliant.
How this guy, he actually cracks me up because he's like an actual CEO. He's incredibly smart.
Yeah.
Like, genuine. He seems to be a really good boss as well. Like, but he's also has a little bit of Reggie in him.
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking. You've got to have a bit of Mimi in you. But
Nintendo works. Like, Nintendo's like, yeah, you got to be a bit Mimi if you're the president of Nintendo.
Yeah.
But Nvidia are like,
yeah, they're not quite
a pretty serious company.
Yeah, they're not like family orientated like Nintendo.
No, they're like quite businessy and.
Yeah, that is funny.
But then you have this guy who he always wears a leather jacket, and it's become like a meme, and he knows it because he always makes a big deal about putting it on. And he knows that although this press conference is serious and not for gamers, he knows that like 90% of the people watching it are probably gamers.
That's really funny. I was going to say, that's the thing. Like, you say that about Nvidia, that they're a more serious company and stuff, but I mean, realistically, most of their audience is probably gamers. Or is definitely gamers. It's all people like us who like, you know, build computers to play games with and just want to see how to make their games run better.
When this is a very long-winded
closing statement.
This is a closing statement, but I did as you know, but for the audience, I did for my dissertation for uni. It involved computers. It involved graphics cards and doing intense calculations using them. I've never actually met people other than like friends who are so nerdy and hyped about graphics cards ever. Like, my professor was like wetting himself. He came in and he was like, "Look what I've got," and he had a 1080 Ti, and he was like, "I'll slap this baby right in," and he like opened up a desktop, and everyone's like crowding around like, "Oh, that's gonna sweat. I love it." And like the whole room was really hot because everyone was running these cards, and like they were all getting really excited by how hot it was because they were like, "Oh yeah, it's crunching numbers." Never ever seen anything like that in my life.
Well, that was an almost pornographic story.
And now for our sponsor.
Brilliant timing.
So, Jack.
Yeah.
Tell me, have you been watching anything? Have you got anything to talk about watching wise?
Oh man, I feel like I have. Let me think on that. Did I tell you I rewatched Jojo Rabbit?
You didn't? No.
Did I not?
No, you didn't tell me that. I don't think you did anyway.
I rewatched Jojo Rabbit.
Great film.
Because my parents hadn't seen it, and I love it. We watched Hunt for the Wilder People as well, because my dad hadn't seen that, so I rewatched that with him, and he loved it, of course. And then my parents loved Jojo Rabbit, and they're big Taika Waititi fans. And now we're just looking forward to him making Thor: Love and Thunder and a random unnamed Star Wars movie. I feel like we talked about that, right?
Yeah, we talked about that, yeah.
Yeah. So let's not dwell on that. Jojo Rabbit's great. I think it really manages to somehow balance the tone between Nazis are evil, horrible, I mean, all the terrible words, regime, but also it's a silly Taika Waititi film. I think the entire film wouldn't work. Spoilers for Jojo Rabbit. Skip ahead. Timestamps in the description. Now you have to do timestamps, Jamie.
I actually do that.
That's good. I do see that, to be fair. I think the whole film wouldn't work if his mum didn't die, because that's the only real bit in the film where it's like, oh yeah, this is about Nazis.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of the movie gets away with. I mean, clearly, there's an overwhelming Nazi thing, obviously, but
it's so silly.
It's kind of. I can't say you forget. You obviously don't forget, but it does feel sidelined. All these crazy things are happening, and you're like, oh yeah, they're Nazis, and all these, because it's made so normal, and the kids are doing weird stuff, but they make it seem like it's so normal.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of conveniently sidelined, maybe.
Yeah.
For the sake of the movie to happen. But I think...
And then you have that brilliant scene, and I can't remember his name, but you have that brilliant scene where they walk into the house and hail Hitler like 100 times.
Yes, Stephen Merchant.
That's it.
Yeah, Stephen Merchant and his Death Squad. That scene's great because it kind of both shows... It's obviously really stupid, and I think it's hilarious. But it also shows, like, the kind of... What's the word I'm looking for? Like, the insane rules, basically, that the Nazi Party had. Because this isn't even satire. That they did constantly hail Hitler.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a funny way of doing it, and it works really well. And that scene's also really tense, impressively.
Yeah.
Taika Waititi does quite a good job of having a surprisingly tense scene in his really silly films. There's a bit in Hunt for the Wilder People where they find this cabin in the middle of the woods, and some hunters come in, and they're kind of talking to the two main characters, like, oh yeah, people are looking for you, you know, they think you're a paedophile, that sort of thing. But yeah, obviously it's kind of more tense in Jojo Rabbit because it's Nazis and stuff. And it's also really good. There's obviously they're hailing Hitler back and forward like 20 times, and it's funny. And then Sam Rockwell and Alfie Allen come in, they do it again, and it's funny again, blah, blah, blah. But then it twists completely when they go upstairs and see the Jewish girl pretending to be Jojo's sister, and then she has to hail Hitler. She's...
Yeah.
Both the main two kids in that film are incredible. I say kid, she's probably like 20 or something in real life, but you know.
Yeah, I think she actually is,
yeah. I mean, she's supposed to be like 17, 18 in the film anyway. But yeah, but they're both really good, and especially in that scene where she kind of pauses and like you can see the pain in her eyes, and then she starts saying how Hitler to all of them. It's like, oh, it's really like crushing, but it's like, yeah, it's really good.
What a movie.
It's a really good movie, I think.
Yeah.
It's definitely not perfect, but it's great. Sam Rockwell does a great job of being extremely likeable yet again. I can't remember the last film I saw Sam Rockwell in where he wasn't like the most likeable character ever. He's just so great.
I can't think of many films that I've seen him in, but you'll probably be able to tell me some that I have.
He's in
seen.
A lot of... I can't remember the director's name. He made 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Oh, I've definitely seen that.
In Bruges, 7 Psychopaths. Blah,
God,
blah,
I completely
he's
forgot
not in
about
Bruges.
that movie.
He's in 7 Psychopaths. He's in a lot of films, basically, but yeah.
Yeah.
Rebel Wilson's really funny in it. I don't always find Rebel Wilson too funny, but she's really funny in this. Yeah.
Solid movie, yeah, for sure.
Good movie. I watch his career with great interest. It's also funny how this one feels especially Wes Anderson-y, and like you can't help but compare it to like Moonrise Kingdom, which is just such a different movie, but there's just that kind of like Boy Scout similarity to it.
So I've watched half of Moonrise Kingdom, and I need to watch that movie in full. Together. There was a reason. Something happened, and I was watching it in my house at uni, and something happened, and we stopped watching it. It wasn't because we didn't like it. I think everyone fell asleep. I think we were watching it too late.
Probably. Like 4 a.m. after you got back from a night out or something.
It was something. No, it wasn't actually. It was after like watching like 3 movies in a row. It was just stupid. Not
the way movies are supposed to be watched. Yeah, we often put ourselves in those situations. Yeah, good stuff. What have you been watching, Jamie?
I've been watching Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, like you said you would.
Obviously, I'm not prepared to have a big old conversation about Harry Potter.
I mean, that deserves its own podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's cool is that I'm not like a big fan of it, in that I don't know all of it. But
yeah, I'm not a mega fan of Harry Potter. I'm just a standard fan.
What's been really interesting for me is that there's a lot of things I do remember. and there's a whole lot of things I don't remember. And what's been cool is that there's been characters who I know are not what they seem, but I can't remember like the details of those characters. And then so I'm watching it from a brand new perspective that I've never watched these films before. In that, like, you know, for example, Snape.
I was going to say Snape.
I'm like,
what's the deal with Snape?
I'm like, I know I'm watching him differently because I know completely that there's something different. He's not just like a dick. I know there's more to his character, and I can't remember what that is.
That's quite
so I'm
funny,
like,
actually. That you can't
really
remember
excited to learn again what that was, and also the fact that I'm on. We've just finished Prisoner of Azkaban, and those I always remember those three movies are like towards the end of Prisoner of Azkaban, it loses it, but they're kind of whimsical, as I think I said before.
Yeah, we were having this conversation last week about Goblet of Fire is the total transition. Oh man, you're in for a treat. Yeah, Prisoner of Azkaban's really good. That was always one of my favourites.
I was ready. I was watching the time travel bit, and I was ready to get really mad.
Yeah.
That genuinely is one of the better time travel sequences I've seen in any movie.
Yeah, the only criticism is that they just abandon it after that.
Yeah, that's literally it.
Yeah.
Because the actual scene itself is actually... I was watching it like, oh, here we go. And I couldn't remember... I remember it being criticised, but the criticism is that they don't use it again. But I couldn't remember... I was expecting the criticism to be that it doesn't make any sense. But actually, it was pretty much like immaculately done. Like, it was spot on how they did it.
Yeah,
I was
they
they
follow their own rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, then it never comes back again. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Which I felt they could have explained. It could have just been Hermione like, oh, this is too dangerous, and then destroy it.
You know what would have been really cool, a way of doing it?
What?
A cool explanation would have been that they actually did, because this would still be following their rules. They actually did use it again multiple times and failed. And because of their rules dictate that you can't change time, it would make sense. It would all work. That would have been pretty sick, I think. But
yeah, but they would know, right? Because it's still just them doing.
They would only know once they got to the point where they used it. Which, if they were like the final book, the final story happens, and they're adults, and they're like, should we go back in time and try and like
I see
stop
what you
this
mean.
from all happening?
I see what you mean. Yeah, but in my head, they would have used it before then. They would have used it constantly.
Sure.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But like a cool, yeah. In that sense, yeah.
Yeah. So the next film, you've got the world's introduction to Robert Pattinson. I'm pretty sure. I think it was like the first thing he was in.
Is David Tennant in this as well?
Yeah, David Tennant's in the next one.
Yeah.
Goblet of Fire's got a great cast.
It has actually. I was looking on IMDb in anticipation for it.
I'm hyped for it.
Speaking of which, additional news: Robert Pattinson saying that he doesn't want to exercise much for Batman. I saw that come up today.
Interesting. Well, he wants to stay a nice, slim, lean Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I fully expect him to be buff by anyone's standards, but
yeah, just Robert Pattinson's standard is enough.
Like Christian Bale was a tank.
Yeah, he got huge, and then he lost it all, and then he gained it all again for The Dark Knight Rises. He's an insane person. He said he's going to stop doing that now.
He really should.
Yeah, he should medically. Yeah, Robert Pattinson.
How old is he? It must be like 40 something. 50?
Yeah, he's got to be in his 40s. I think he's still in his 40s, but he's old enough. Old enough. Yeah. Even when he was younger, he shouldn't have been doing that. Mm-mm. Yeah, Robert Pattinson's playing a very early Batman, so it wouldn't even, for the mega nerds and the really picky viewers, it's going to canonically make sense if he's a bit slimmer.
Yeah.
It's like a year into being Batman or something. I think he's playing. I'm really hyped for that movie, by the way.
Did we talk about this last week?
Not last week, but we've definitely spoke about it before.
Oh, we have spoken about it before. We talked about just the cast of that movie.
Oh, I'm excited.
Is ridiculous.
You got Jeffrey Wright, you got Zoe Kravitz, you got Paul Dano. It's going to be good.
It really is.
It's going to be good indeed. And Robert Pattinson, we're both big fans. Robert Pattinson, I need to rewatch Twilight because I think I've seen the second one all the way through and bits of the first one. I saw the second one at the cinema. I don't remember why. I think it was probably to impress a girl.
Are you serious, Jack?
But I've seen.
Oh, that is something that you haven't told me. That's brilliant.
I'm pretty sure I've never seen the first one all the way through, but I've definitely seen bits, potentially just through YouTube videos taking the piss.
I've only seen the first one, and the reason for that was because my sister. When they came over, we'd take it in turns to pick movies, and because she was so young at the time, it was always like, oh god, it's my sister's turn.
I bet you forced her to watch Twilight.
We watched the Barbie movie and stuff. It was awful. Then
we should
when it was
do
my brother's turn. What?
We should do podcasts where we watch like your sister's old movies.
That sounds like a fate worse than death.
Let's do it. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say my older brother, when it was his turn, he'd pick like Jaws. So it was ridiculous. It was absurd because at first my parents said, no, you can't do that. It has to be family friendly. But then he made the point, like, I'm 5 years older than her. I don't want to watch Universal movies. So basically, I don't remember what we did, but we did end up watching the ones that he wanted to watch. It was so funny.
A compromise that satisfies no one.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, my point anyway was going to be that Robert Pattinson just always gives his all. He's great in every movie I've seen him in.
Yeah.
And I feel like Twilight would be the exception because he absolutely hates those movies.
I know.
And he hated them at the time, but I would still be intrigued to see. Good times. Should I tell you what I've been playing, Jamie?
I'd love to know. Please tell me.
I've been playing 2018 Spider-Man.
Oh, man.
I bought it.
I want it.
Late.
I want it.
It's so good. It really feels like all of those games we were talking about from like the 2000s, like those single player linear story games with an open world map, like your Assassin's Creeds and your every other game. Maybe not the 2000s, maybe the early 2010s. But it's really good. It's just that same classic formula, but just polished amazingly. It's great.
I think it looks. I mean, clearly it looks awesome.
Yeah. And
I haven't played it though.
I mean, the best thing about it is you feel like Spider-Man. It's really comparable to the Batman Arkham series. I mean, in the sense that a lot of the what's what I'm looking for? A lot of the functionality is the same. Like you've got.
I've got a question.
Go for it.
What is the open world like? Because I'm only familiar with PlayStation 1 and 2 Spider-Man, and of course they all take place exclusively on top of high-rise buildings.
Wait, could you not land on the ground?
No.
I don't remember that. That's weird. Well, yeah, I was gonna say. So I've owned many Spider-Man games over the years, mainly like based on the movies. And Spider-Man 2 was the last one I remember enjoying. I think it had proper swinging mechanics where you had to attach to buildings and
nice.
let go and reattach, and it was fun like that. But even in that game, New York just felt extremely bland, and it wasn't a very fun open world.
Yeah.
But in this, it's really cool. It feels really good. I mean, it's huge map. It's like a quarter the size of New York, I think. Like they've scaled it down, they've chopped the top off, they've cut out some streets, replaced them with some fictional streets, that sort of thing. but it's really cool. It really feels alive. It's, everyone's like talking to you in the streets and stuff. There's like landmarks to take pictures of, because obviously it's Spider-Man, he's got his camera and all that.
See,
and it's really fun to swing around in.
Yeah.
And if there's not a building, you can't swing, like Central Park. You can swing off tall trees, but you can't attach to nothing.
Okay, so here's my thing, because I can imagine this is a real difficult thing with Spider-Man games. In most open world games, you are another person, and you coexist in this world of other people. In Spider-Man, everyone knows you're Spider-Man. You are clearly Spider-Man. You are not, as long as you're dressed as Spider-Man, you are not part of this. You're not coexisting in an open world. You are completely. It is your sandbox.
Yeah.
You are God.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Can you go outside of Spidey's outfit or not?
There are. I mean, I'm not very far into it. Also, I should specify, but I don't think that you can open world play as Peter Parker. But there's certain, I guess, missions where you're inside going somewhere and you play as Peter Parker, and they're obviously.
Okay.
But even in those scenarios, everyone knows you. Like the bit I just played, which I actually wanted to talk about, is I think it's like Aunt May's birthday or something. You're going to surprise her with a cake with like her boss and some other people, and she works at this homeless shelter. And you go there, and you're walking through the homeless shelter, interacting with items and stuff, talking to people, and everyone like knows you. They're like, "Oh, hi Pete, how you doing?" You can talk to them, blah blah blah, stuff. But obviously that's a bit different to playing the Spider-Man. But no, what I wanted to say about that was the thing that makes it really feel like Spider-Man is you're not just going around punching people, which obviously you are doing quite a lot of, but there's also like there's a bit where you're in the lab with Dr. Octopus. This is before he's Dr. Octopus, and you're
Doc Ock. I love a bit of Doc Ock.
He's great in this as well. They've got a good relationship, and he's just doing you're doing some puzzles that are like science related. They're all like matching games and stuff like that, but they implement them. And there's obviously this homeless shelter bit where he's going around talking to different people, and they're like, "Oh, thanks for your help with that," blah blah blah. But it's like this is what Spider-Man is. Like this is why he's a hero. It's not because he just goes around fighting crime, which obviously he does do, and it's a massive help. But it's like Peter Parker himself is the hero. He's always helping people, and he's doing the little things. He's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and it's really great. And there's just always bits like that. It's really good.
It sounds like a great game. It looks amazing. Yeah.
And it's got more, like, there's some stealth moments that are fun. And
stealth's cool. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's very Arkham Knight. Like, you crawl in vents and zip people up with your web. Obviously, it's got the same combat mechanics where it kind of makes more sense here, though, because in Batman, obviously, he senses a punch and, like, turns around and punches back, whatever. You can do all your counters and stuff. But in Spider-Man, it makes more canonical sense because he's got spider senses.
Yeah.
It's quite hard as well. The combat's much harder than I was expecting. You have to be a lot more strategic with it.
That's good.
And people react very quickly. Like, I keep thinking, I'm Spider-Man, I'll be fine. But, like, I'll zip down from the top of a building and punch someone, and in a heartbeat, their mate will turn around and just, like, clock me in the jaw. Oh, jeez. And there's people shooting at you all the time. You've got to web them up.
In Batman, you can go into a bit of a routine. When you're fighting generic baddies, you can just, like, kind of mindlessly hit them and you'll be alright. Yeah. It's
quite rare that you'll be facing generic baddies as well. They introduce all the baddies straight away. Well, I say that. I don't know. There's probably going to be more. But they introduce, like, your giant brute, your guy with a shield, and your guy with a zappy stick, like, immediately, straight off the bat.
Brilliant.
It's good. And I haven't even got into the proper story yet. Obviously, on the back of the cover, it's got your standard... there's a new threat after Kingpin is locked away, which is like the opening tutorial sort of section. And I know very little about this game, so I don't know what villains are going to be in it. I'm assuming Doc Ock's going to turn at some point, but maybe not. But I'm excited. And I think I'm at the point where the villain's about to be revealed. I'm at a point where I'm playing as Mary Jane in a museum, like doing some journalist work. And some like men in masks come in and started trying to rob stuff. and their subtitles call them demon. So
Oh no!
I don't know where it's going.
Oh no!
But it's really cool. The characters are great as well. Aunt May's great, Mary Jane's great, Peter Parker's great, and there's just so many, because there's a lot of like collectibles and stuff. Like one of the collectibles, air quotes, is you take pictures of New York landmarks. Obviously, some fictional, some real, and some of them are like Peter Parker just hidden backpacks webbed to walls around the city, and you find them, and it's all just like mementos from his past, like the movie ticket from his first date with Mary Jane. Oh no, it's like a menu from a restaurant, stuff like that.
Oh,
but there's loads of lore in there, like him and Mary Jane aren't together anymore. He mentions like, oh, when he was a kid, all his friends looked up to Iron Man, but he looked up to Doc Ock, all stuff like that.
Whoa! Iron Man's canon.
Yeah. I mean, I think he usually is, but yeah, it's cool that he's mentioned.
Wait, no, he's not usually canon at all.
Well, I guess not in like the movie tie-in games.
Not in the movies and stuff.
No. But there was like other Spider-Man games.
Oh man, I didn't realize that they were going to mention Iron Man, considering the strange relationship with Sony and Marvel. You know.
I was going to say I don't know how much that translates to the games, but I guess it would.
I have no idea.
No, I don't think it would. I think that would just be movies, because I think games are the same licensing as the comics, basically.
Okay.
That would be. I know nothing about the lore.
Oh, you say that, but I'm pretty sure that Spider-Man is completely owned by Sony, hence why it is PS4 exclusive.
Yeah, that
I'm
could
pretty
be
sure
true.
that is the case with Spider-Man specifically.
You mean the game?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, the game
or
and also the film.
what would you call it? Yeah, like digital media, I guess.
It's a bit weird.
Not related to the comics.
Spider-Man appears in Ultimate Alliance 3, which is exclusive to Switch. So I don't know. Bit weird.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. That's cool stuff, though. There's a bit in the homeless shelter as well where he says about like Flash Thompson started up this thing to help war veterans. It's like, that's cool. Flash Thompson's like the school bully, but it's cool that
is so
got
interesting.
a mention. And it's like he's been doing it for 8 years at this point. So he was like 23, started when he was 15.
How old is Spider-Man then? 23?
I think 23. And it's like he quit his job with J. Jonah Jameson after Daily Bugle reported this thing about Spider-Man killing some people. There's loads of really cool lore already. I haven't been playing for too long in the grand scheme of it.
Oh, okay. You've said so much. I'm so hyped. Honestly, everything you've said has got me so hyped to play this.
It's really cool, and it's really, really feels like Spider-Man.
Can I throw in a bit of news that I should have mentioned?
Do it.
It's related.
Cool.
I think it's something like simple. Like I think it's PlayStation Game Studios or Sony Game Studios or something. It's a new initiative that has been announced, and it's basically like but it's basically Sony's way of saying this is a first-party Sony game. This is a PlayStation-made game.
It's kind of
we
just
have been funded
a seal
by
of approval on their exclusives.
Well, kind of. It's a way of branching all their different first-party studios all into one, because they've got quite a few. So, Xbox has done the same thing. They've got like they've taken loads of developers and put it under one Xbox branch.
Yeah.
I think it's called Xbox Studios as well. It's exactly the same thing. It's very funny actually how similar they are.
Yeah.
The main takeaway is that this is basically they're paving the way to multi-platform Sony games. That is the whole point of this Sony Studios thing. It's not a stamp of approval, because you don't need that if it's exclusive to a PlayStation. It's actually all about rebranding exclusives to be multi-platform, i.e. on PC, which is freaking awesome.
It's kind
of that means all the crazy awesome PlayStation exclusives that I'm dying to play might actually come to PC.
It's kind of a like oh, PC gamers, you like this game? Well, it was made by PlayStation.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a way of them, instead of it just being another game. Yeah, like you said, it's like it's to solidify it as this is a Sony game. We're giving you this game. You should like us a lot for this.
That is cool.
Before we wrap up this podcast, would I be able to quickly talk about a game I've been playing?
It's the way it goes, Jamie. We need to know.
It's called Ghost Runner.
Yeah.
Very, very cool game. There's a video on the channel about it, of me playing it. And it is it's a highly replayable, very fast-paced first-person action game where the gimmick, other than it, I mean, one of the gimmicks is the fact that you can like run on walls and like it's very fluid. The game plays very well.
It's very Mirror's Edge.
Very Mirror's Edge. It's unique in that there's not that many games that nail platforming in first person. Like Mirror's Edge is one of the very few examples of that, to be honest. And also the fact that you can actually slow down time midair, or not just midair, but any time, for a short period of time to evade bullets. Basically, just a really nice, cool action game. Very simple. It's not open world. It's incredibly linear. It encourages playing through as fast as you can. It looks great. Like the graphics are really cool. It's basically just a refreshingly simple action game that's come out of nowhere. And I like how simple it is. It's not, there's this, and then there's also all these side quests, and there's also, did you know how deep this is? This is like, this is really, really fun. You'll probably play it, you probably finish it in like 5 hours, I can imagine, and then you'll want to play it again straight after and beat a time. I played a demo, had a lot of fun. The demo is obviously like super short, but it's demo, so whatever. It has ray tracing, which is definitely, I love a bit ray tracing. Love me some ray tracing. It's the ray tracing is quite demanding, so most people won't use it. If you run it in 4K, it runs at 7 frames per second on a 2080 Ti apparently. So that's not worth it.
Everyone's going to go out and get their 2080 Ti's just for Ghost Runner ray tracing.
Yeah, it's an indie game, which is why you'd buy an expensive graphics card. But if you want to see more of my opinions on that and my reaction to that, please do check out our YouTube channel and have a look at the video. We've been playing a few new games, some of which you may not have seen before recently. So even more incentive for you to check out the channel, subscribe, and like all of the things that are on it. And with that, I would like you, Jack Cox, to finish this podcast with one of your famous lines.
Oh, I don't have any famous lines now, but if you want to get away from the terrible present day, travel back in time to 2018, the year of Spider-Man, and consume some Spider-Man culture, like Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man 2018, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and just listen to Elevate by DJ Carlil featuring Denzel Curry, YBN Corday, Suave, and Trevor Ricky over and over again. Bye.